Started now. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to be introducing our speaker today, Irina White, and her presentation is titled How Do You Eat an Elephant? One Slice at a Time. And after Irina's talk, we'll also have a Q&A session, but remember this is recorded, so I'll ask you to wait until the mic gets to you before you ask a question. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. And thanks for coming along. And I'm assuming that you're here because you all have your own individual elephant that you're trying to slice at the moment. So is that correct? Everyone's in the process of a doctoral thesis writing journey? Yes? Good, good. So this is about some of the technology tools that I used in the last 5 years that I've been on the PhD journey, and a little bit maybe how you're feeling at the moment. Looking at technology is a little bit like looking at the back end of an elephant. It looks huge if you're really, really tiny, and it can be a bit scary if all that you've probably mastered so far is PowerPoint and Word and maybe Excel, right? And I'm sure you're aware that there are a whole lot of tools out there, enough to fill an elephant quite easily. My interest in technology is because my topic, and I've put a copy of a poster I did for the recent DocFest on the tables, is actually about using technology in education. So I figure if I'm going to be researching about technology in education, maybe it's a good idea to try and use some along the way, which is what I'm going to share with you today. So thanks for coming along. Welcome. Come in, come in. So the things that I'm looking at in the first part of this presentation are the sorts of technology you can use to slice up your research to make the journey a more manageable one. And the things that I'm going to show you are no more difficult to learn than PowerPoint, Word, or the basics of Excel, okay? All of these software packages that I've used are very, very easy to teach yourself to use. I came along and was very excited that there were going to be a whole lot of workshops run at the university when I started my PhD that were going to show me how to use things like EndNote and NVivo, and I went along to the courses. I actually did the NVivo course twice, but then when it came to actually using all of the sorts of capabilities that NVivo had, and EndNote as well, I couldn't remember a single thing from the workshop, and when I started to use the tools I got very confused. Now I'm somebody who's used a lot of technology in my long life, and I thought there's got to be an easier way. So this is why I found these particular software tools that I'm going to just briefly go through. There's obviously a lot to say about each one of them. I'm going to just give you a little taste, a little sample of how I use them in my own research, and along the way you'll get to learn a little bit about what my research as well was about. Okay? So the first one is Evernote. Has anyone used Evernote? Ray, good. Quirkos. Anybody? Skype? And this is for your research I'm talking about. Anyone actually use Skype in their research? Yes? A nod. Camtasia Studio. Anybody? YouTube. And that is actually making YouTube. Anybody? Okay. Well, these are just some of the software tools that I used in putting my research together. Now, Evernote has a logo which is the head of an elephant. Does anyone know why? Anyone?
It never forgets.
Aha! You get extra points. Yes. An elephant never forgets.
Right.
So it's a wonderful tool for getting everything in one place so that if you do forget it, you can find it, and you can find it easily. And it basically helps you to organise everything you find, whether that's videos, anything on the internet, anything that you even come up with while you're sitting there on the bus on the way home from the university, and you've got your iPhone or your tablet and you suddenly think about something and you want to put it somewhere. It lets you do all of that, so it works anywhere, anyhow, in any place, in any device. And I'll just show
Hi,
you
welcome to Evernote.
little introduce.
Evernote is a way to capture all your experiences and access them from anywhere. Type a note, store documents, record audio, capture a photograph, or any other moment you want to remember. Evernote saves and synchronizes your digital life across all your devices. No matter where you are, Evernote is with you. Use it to stay more organized. Plan your next trip. Design and manage a project. Clear your paper clutter. Capture a moment and always find what you need. Life is full of experiences, and Evernote helps you capture, manage, and remember them all.
Okay, so that's in a nutshell what it does. And I'm just going to share a couple of slides now which give some examples from my own research.
If you manage a team, you have to track Monday.com.
You don't want to see
Monday.com is
that.
a platform to track everything your team is working on. We use it for all our projects: marketing, product development, HR.
Right. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, so here is one screenshot from my Evernote collection. Okay, so what I've done there is I've just done a search, basic word search, put in my surname, White. And the first thing that's come up, which you'll see over here, is what I've stored under that particular reference. Now, this happens to be a research paper in a journal, and it has picked up, if you have a look there, the surname of one of the authors. Okay, so it's actually searching within what I've put in there. I've actually entered this information in there. Little tip, I got into the habit right from the beginning of author, date, reference, titles, right? As it would appear in my reference list. So from the beginning, everything I've ever saved was author, date, title, etc. Okay, so there's a handy little guide that you can get from the library. It's a couple of pages long, and it shows you, in this case, the APA style. And I taught myself to do that from the beginning. I know that EndNote will do that for you, but it's very, very easy to learn to do it yourself. It's not hard. And it's a nice feeling when you know where you should italicise and so on as you're doing it, as you go along. So along the top here, I've put here full citation. Sometimes the full citation is too long for the title when you're saving. So in that case, I've done that. In this case, it was actually from a book I got from the library and a chapter that I copied. And I also got into the habit of every time I copied anything that I thought was useful, I'd put in brackets the page number. So I always knew, if I saved it, the page it came from. Now, the other thing that Evernote lets you do is tag. And tags are amazingly handy things to have when you're searching through a huge bunch of stuff. And what I've done, again, got into the habit of, where I thought something was a keyword or a key phrase, I'd do it in bold in the actual body of what I copied, and then I'd put it up as a tag. So I ended up with a lot of tags. I've got something like over 1,000 references in here. But I've got a tag list that appears on the left-hand side of this screen that I can just go through and just do a random search if I want to, or do it, it's all alphabetical, or if I know a specific tag, I can go and look for it. So that's what the little tag symbol is on the screen. So here's another example. Now in this case, this is a paper that I wrote back in 2017, and what I've done is I've put the link, which lives on the Flinders OneDrive, on my folder. Okay, so it's a PDF, and so you can just enter text, you can link really easily to an existing document that you have, and so that's just the next one in that list. And there's the PDF. And I highly recommend that if you're going to save things, save them as PDFs because they're searchable. Because anything will search within a PDF, but not necessarily inside a Word document. So there's the document. And so when I click on that link, it actually appears in another tab. So I can go back and forth between my Evernote files, which are here, on that tab, and so on. So that's how simple it is. Now the other way to do a search, and this is looking at this one down here, this is a directly copied from the website. So what you see down here is exactly what appears on the website, and that's the PDF to a PhD thesis. And up here, again, I've copied out the things that I thought were relevant to my thesis, page number at the end of each thing I've copied. I've tagged, right, and all those tags appear up here. But I can also find this particular PhD thesis by going to I've tagged the author, and there are actually 7 other references that are tagged to that author in my collection, and this is how all your tags look. So you can scroll down here and see all of your tags and just search for things by the tag, and that becomes really handy. So there's numerous ways that you can use Evernote. You can use it for your own notes. You can use it to link to all those things that you've got in your folders, so you can manage that. And you can find something on the internet, and there's a thing called an Evernote clipper, which is a little elephant icon. It sits in your bar at the top of the screen. Click on that and it will automatically save whatever is on your desktop and let you put it into Evernote, right? And also, if you want to use it for anything else, you can use it for your recipes, your favourite music, whatever. You can create folders on anything you like, so it can live way beyond your thesis and use it for lots of other things. Quirkos. Now that's the next thing I'll show you. Now, having got all of that stuff into Evernote, well, how do you then refine it down to what you really need to put into your thesis? And I think for most of you, you will find if you're doing any kind of qualitative research, you're going to have to do some kind of thematic coding. Okay? So this is where Quirkos comes in. Again, I did the in vivo course twice, and quite frankly, it just did my head in. And as I said, I'm a technology person. I just didn't have the time. I just couldn't be bothered. Every time I tried to save something, I had to recreate everything. And I didn't want to have to do that. So I went searching, and this is from the University of Edinburgh. It's a package that's been out for quite a while, and it's very visual. It's a drag and drop, and it's simple to use. And I can just show you a little promo. This is the website, and this just as I say, is just a short...
Quocos is a simple software tool for helping you analyse qualitative text data like transcripts of interviews, focus groups, online surveys, or you can even use it for literature and systematic reviews. It's designed to be easy to use and learn, with a fraction of the cost and training requirements of other qualitative software. The themes in your research are shown by bubbles that grow as you add data to them. You can see your findings emerge in the intuitive visual interface and stay close to your data. You'll find it a lot easier than trying to analyse qualitative data with highlighters, Word or Excel, and Quocos is much quicker to learn than other qualitative analysis software. But it still has powerful tools like keyword search with synonyms, side-by-side comparisons of subgroups, and visualizations that show connections in your data. Once you're done, you can share your data with detailed reports, visual overviews, or even Word exports that look like you've just coded them with highlighters. Quocos also runs the same on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and has cheap licenses that don't expire or lock you out of your data. Download a free trial today and see for yourself how Quocos makes qualitative analysis simple.
So having done 2 in vivo courses, this looked pretty attractive to me, and it is. It is that easy to use. It's pure drag and drop. So here's some examples. This is from the secondary data that I put together from all the things I had in Evernote. Up here, these little tabs are all the sources. So you can see these are sources that I've taken out of Evernote because they've got the page references. So I've got the title, and then here I've just literally used the highlighter and dragged it into the various bubbles that it represents. The really, really great thing about this too is that along the way there's, I don't know if you can see, there's a little thought bubble up there. As an idea pops into your head, you go, oh gee, but that quote really reminds me of something else that somebody else said in an interview, or somebody, something I read in the literature. You can create all these little memos, and they all appear then in the report that you put out, which could be a month or 2 later. That's what you actually thought of, that moment in time as you were coding. So that's kind of really going to be handy for me, because I'm just about to start on writing my discussion chapter. And I think it's going to be quite useful. So that was my secondary data. So that data is really data out of the literature. So it's really just a literature review tool that I've used there, but except I used 22 specific studies that I focused on out of the literature. Then this is the interview data. This is from 15 participants that I spoke to, who were part of my modelling and interviewing process for my primary data collection. And you can see that I've used the same codes from that secondary data, those orange dots, and I've added a few others, which emerged as I started going through the interview data. Again, the same process, just putting in, these were all my sources from my interviews. I had 45,000 words of transcript, around 3,000 words for each interview. So they all went in there. And then here I just highlighted, colour-coded, and they're all there. So what I'm about to do now is look at my secondary data and look at my primary data and go, where are the overlaps? I've just made my life a lot easier, I think. And there's a written report that you can produce with Quocos. This is one of the themes, leadership and vision, and these are the sorts of things that I collected under that particular theme from the interviews, and it automatically puts the source. Whatever you call the source, it will identify the source for you. It also, sorry?
Just a quick question. So did you use that report to then, is it directly cut and pastable into Word? Or
Yes.
did you use the report itself?
This report is actually in Word. It gives you the option, yep. You
So
can,
then you could actually write around the evidence, couldn't you?
Yes.
Yes. Right.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Or cut and paste, again, directly into the thesis. But yeah, it's a Word report, and it actually gives you a lot more information. It's quite a long report that it just automatically produces, which talks about your sources and everything are all listed there. And it's really, really handy. So, how I did my interviews was using Skype, and I recorded them using something called Camtasia Studio. Camtasia Studio is an editing and recording software that's available to staff, all staff at Flinders University. It's not automatically available to students, but I managed to get a license because I was on staff here, and I was able to maintain that license. But getting a license for Camtasia Studio, a student license, is not terribly expensive. It's a very powerful piece of editing software, and I'll just show you why.
Looking to make your first video? You don't need a big budget or fancy editing skills to make an effective tutorial, product demo, or training video. Simply record your screen and add a few effects. With Camtasia, you can make engaging videos quickly and confidently. Record anything on your computer screen: websites, software, webinars, presentations, or bring in your own files. Create engagement by adding callouts, animations, and transitions, or help your viewers follow along with built-in cursor effects. With a few clicks, you can customize the video to match your brand or style with intros, music, and lower thirds. End up with a professional-looking video your viewers actually watch. Then share directly to your favorite hosting site. With a Camtasia video, you get more viewer engagement and help your audience learn more effectively. Whether you have video experience or this is your first time making one, we give you everything you need to make a high-quality instructional video. Join millions of other Camtasia users and start creating great training videos today. If you need to share information with video, you need Camtasia.
And clearly this is why the university has bought it. Again, just going back to what I mentioned before about having software that's as easy as PowerPoint to use. This is kind of sort of a next step on from PowerPoint. If you can use PowerPoint, you can use Camtasia, and in fact, Camtasia will automatically upload your PowerPoint and turn it into a video. And then you can put your voiceover on it or whatever else you want to do. But for me, the big advantage was that I needed to interview people across Australia and New Zealand. And so for me, Skype was the only way I was going to be able to do that. So I set up the Skype session, and I set up Camtasia, and Camtasia recorded as I was conducting the Skype. And then when I finished, it let me just put it straight up into YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, and that is because then I can keep all the videos that I record private. But then I could share that video recording as well as the transcript with the participants so that they could come back and say to me, yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. No, here are some other things that I should have added or whatever. And then I got that back, so I was able to validate what the participants had to say, and I could do it all from a desktop. I didn't have to go out and go and back and forward, set up video cameras, any of that. It was all really easy. And easy to learn to use. Again, there's tutorials there, but I kind of looked at the interface for the Camtasia editing page, and it was like, okay, well, there's a timeline. It's just like in PowerPoint. There's bits, and I can edit and chop and cut, and then I can also separate the audio from the video. And one of the good things was that I could edit out all my questions. So all I ended up having was just what the participants said. Because I was only recording the part of the screen where I was doing the modelling with the participant, I didn't have their face in the Skype, from the Skype. So I could just select that bit of the Skype screen that was necessary for the recording. Okay? This is basically what the process looked like. So all that I was recording on the screen was what you see in the box in the middle. So I was sitting here in Adelaide. My participant was maybe in Auckland. And what they were doing was they were telling me what to connect on the screen. They had just told me their story, a lived experience of how they'd used technology in education. And now we took the story and they told me, and in real time, it was all recorded. So then I used Camtasia to actually, this was a demonstration of how that recording process worked. So this is all done in Camtasia, including the music. So this was what I showed the participants, what the modelling process would look like before they started, so they had some idea what we were going to do. So in my study there were 4 main actors. There were innovators, there was management, there was central support, and there were the adopters of technology. And each one of those had specific roles that they played in the whole process of innovation adoption, which I got out of the secondary data. Then these were the questions I asked. You know, in this case, management and leadership actually enabled the learning management system, which was part of their story. So this is each person's story. This is just one story as an example. So people connected all the things that happened in their story. In this case, there was a two-way relationship between dissemination and sharing ideas and ownership. Then I asked them, well, what things inhibited? What things actually worked against the innovation getting taken up by other people? Showed what inhibited, and then some of those things were more influential than others, so there was a little globe icon that people told me to attach where they were relevant. And you can do all of this in Camtasia. This is just screen captures, just one screen capture at a time. I didn't actually do any animation to make this. So people adjusted how big that influence was. And then we ran the model, which was the software I used, which is built in a package called NetLogo. A very simple package, and it has a little algorithm that takes all of those elements and works out which things are more important than other things, yeah? But then I wanted to compare what was the real experience with what would an ideal experience look like. So there were more enabling links in the ideal world. Run the model again, and all the time that the model is being run, the person's going sort of, aha, oh, here's a little bit more of the story. So the story was still going on as this modelling process was happening. And so we could play with it. literally play with all the elements on the screen. So what happens if? What if we did that? And it was actually the participant directing all of this. So you get quite a different sort of outcome. Different things are important in the ideal world than they appeared in the real world. So I start to get a bunch of primary data out of this that informs my study. So that was back in 2017. So it's you can use So you can use Camtasia in a number of ways, and also share that automatically on YouTube. So in YouTube I had 45,000 words. Before I got to YouTube I had 45,000 words of transcript, right, to deal with. Now how did I get that? How did I get the transcript? Because that was a lot of recordings. Well, I used YouTube. Because I could take the Camtasia video of the interview and upload it straight away to YouTube, I could put closed captioning in. Now you have to, first step to do this is enable the closed captions, for the words to appear on the screen, which just is automatic in YouTube, okay? The next thing that you do is you go to the part of the YouTube screen that has this add to share. Is anyone familiar with the little share icon up there? There's 3 little dots next to that. That's what you click on to be able to do the transcript. It's that easy.
Are there any mistakes, errors in YouTube's algorithm?
It was really
accurate.
It was surprisingly accurate. I was interviewing people in universities who were used to speaking clearly. So that was a big advantage. Okay? People knew that what they were telling me was being recorded too. So that was also an advantage. I think if you were going to talk to somebody just at a table with a microphone, yeah, it could be a little bit different. I had good voice quality because I was recording directly off the Skype session. And so I didn't have a real lot. Yeah, I had to make a few little, there were 1 or 2 words that it translated a bit strange, but because I've got the time code and I'm looking and I'm listening, I could just go and change it. So 45,000 words probably took me about 5 weeks, off and on. I didn't sit there every day, all day, but it made it very, very much easier. So here's an example from the YouTube, and you'll see here, this was the transcript with the time code. So I could look, I could listen, see exactly what was being transcribed, okay, as I was sitting there. So that's how I did my transcriptions. Here's a bit further on in that interview. And it was pretty clean. I did have to do some little fix-ups because I wanted then to be able to print it out. But you just do it while the screen's there. It's really, really that simple. There's one little trick I'll show you. This is kind of a cute short video, which is a promo for an education conference. It just happens to be called About Elephants in Rooms. But it'll let me demonstrate something for you.
The upcoming AHEAD conference, taking place on March 20 and 21st, 2018,
So here's the
Croke
dots,
Park, Dublin, will explore all of the challenges of moving towards a more inclusive campus. And it's titled, Let's Bring the Elephant into the Room. As part of this event, we'll have 4 key contributors, looking at 4 of the biggest elephants in the room. Elephant number 1 is UDL. Whose job is it? In the change to a universal design for learning model, who does what? And the contributor addressing this elephant is Frederick Fauvet, assistant professor at the University of Prince Edward Island in Canada. Elephant number 2 is student resilience. As pressure on services rises, how can we promote resilience and performance? And this will be presented by Professor Shane O'Mara of the Trinity College Institute of Neuroscience.
So you sort of get the idea. Now, the really neat little thing to remember if you're going to do this is these 3 little dots. So remember, the 3 little dots are your friends with this. Okay? So first of all, make sure you enable closed caption, which is this. Okay? Make sure that that's enabled, that you clicked on closed caption. The next thing is you go here, which opens up your transcription, right? Because that'll take everything that's closed captioning into this transcription. And the other little 3 dots, another neat one, is this. It's called toggle timestamps. And the beauty of that is that when you go to cut and paste, which is just copy and paste from here, goes straight into your Word document with no timestamp. Yeah? So you want the timestamp back, you just put it back in. Okay? So it's that simple to use YouTube. Now the other nice thing is you can do it in a whole lot of different languages too. So if you wanted to put in closed captions in another language to show something you've done, it's as simple as selecting another language and it will automatically translate. Again, not necessarily perfect, but enough for you to be able to go back in here and make the corrections. Yeah? So YouTube's a really, really good friend for slicing up your content in that kind of a way. Oh no, don't tell me I've done it again. I tried to embed the videos, but I thought maybe, let's just go through. Let's quickly recap. Okay, so now some tools for putting it all back together again. Now you've got all your Evernote stuff, you've done all your coding, you've got all your content in its various forms. Okay? One really good tool, and this is the last thing I'll talk about, and then if you have any questions I'm happy to answer, is a tool called Scrivener. Now, this particular tool is something that's been used for many, many years in film script writing. Okay, so if you can imagine you've got all of you are actors in a movie and you each have a part of the script. How can you write all the different parts but then go back and check and say, well, Hannah, I want to know just what you have to say, and just compile only the Hannah parts. So here's Hannah's script, here's Jeremy's script, so on. Yeah? So that's where Scrivener originated. Because if you can imagine, if you look at the end of a movie, it has a lot of people are involved in putting that together. And there's the props and the camera directions and there's everything. All of those things have to kind of come together in one place. So that was the origin of Scrivener. And it also got picked up by people who write novels. Because having all different actors in a novel, it's how do you juggle, all of the actors and know where they are at any one time and be able to find them quickly. And so academics then went, right, this is perfect for writing a thesis as well. And so it's used for all of those things. And back in about 2010, this is a little short video, if you've got time to have a look at this. It goes for about 10 minutes, but I think it's useful. It's to hear from the person who actually developed it, to talk about how it works.
Hi, I'm Keith Blount, and I'm the developer of Scrivener. In this video, I'd like to show how easy it is to start using Scrivener, whether you're starting a new writing project or want to edit an existing one. Scrivener has a lot of powerful features, but don't let that daunt you. You only have to use what you need. It's designed to work around you, not the other way around. So in this video, I'm going to show you the fundamentals of Scrivener, everything you need to get started using it, in under 10 minutes. The features I'm going to show in this video are in fact the features I designed Scrivener for in the first place. Although we'll be using the Windows version in this video, everything you see here applies to the Mac version too. First, let's fire up Scrivener and create a new project. You'll see I'm presented with a window that allows me to choose from different project templates for novels, scripts, academic writing and so on. I'm going to pick the most basic template, the blank one, which will create a blank project. All other templates are based on this one, by the way. Okay, so here we have Scrivener's main window. You're now ready to start writing in the main editor. On the left here, we have the binder, which is the source list showing all the documents in the project. I can show or hide that using the binder button. The other main aspects of the interface are the inspector, which I can show or hide by clicking on the blue disk here, and the ability to split the editor in two, which I can do by clicking here. We'll come back to those in a moment. So I'll type some text and format it as I want using the format bar or menus. Now, one of the key ideas behind Scrivener is that it's easy to manage writing a long text if you break it down into smaller chunks. It's entirely up to you how large or small those chunks are though. Chapters, scenes, paragraphs, arguments, whatever. As soon as you want to create a new chunk, we just click on the Add button and it appears beneath the selected documents in the binder. Add title, and we're ready to start typing there too. Let's take a quick look at the binder. Note that there are 3 folders there by default, although you can add more. The draft folder is the most important. That is where you put together your actual manuscript or text. Anything inside that will be compiled into one long document for printing or exporting when the time comes. You can place pretty much anything you want to support your writing in the research folder. Images, PDF files, notes and so on. Anything in there, and anything else that's not contained inside the draft folder, won't be included in your final manuscript. The trash folder is self-explanatory. That holds any deleted documents until you empty it. Of course, if you use Scrivener, the chances are that you have some work you'd like to import. That's easy enough. I've got a Word document that I want to bring into my project. To do so, I just go to File, Import, Files, and select it. Alternatively, I could just drag it into the binder. Here it is. I want to break it down a bit further though, so I'm going to split it up. To do so, I just place my cursor where I want to split it, and use Documents, Split, Add Selection, or hit Command K, Control K on Windows. I can navigate between the different documents in my project by selecting them in the binder, like so. And I can drag them around to rearrange their order. I can also create folders anywhere I want until I'm happy with the structure.
So you have this corkboard like a PowerPoint, you know.
If I want to make the rest of my screen disappear while I write, I can just click on full screen mode. Once I'm finished, I hit Escape to return to the main window again. There are best-selling novelists using Scrivener who don't use many more features than the ones I've just shown you. So let's write in Scrivener. Now let's look at some of the structural tools. Let's open the inspector. Note the index card at the top. Every document in your project has an index card associated with it. The index card is used to show the title and a synopsis of your document. Let's enter a synopsis here. Now, look what happens when I click on the draft folder. We switch to corkboard mode. And here, you can see the index card that is associated with the document I just had opened. I can edit it. And I can use the corkboard to rearrange my documents. See how it is moved in the binder. If I open that document again, you'll see its index card reflects the edits I've made. The best way of understanding the relationship between documents and index cards is to imagine that each document has an index card clipped to it. And in corkboard mode, you see only the index card. The corkboard shows the subdocuments of whatever folder is selected.
And this is really handy when you're making a movie, if you can imagine.
But if I click on my
You
chapter
know how they have the
I can now see what's inside that. So the corkboard allows you to get an
storyline,
overview of your
storyboard.
documents by seeing only their titles and synopses. And it allows you to move them around by moving their associated index cards. You can also create a new index card on a corkboard, which creates a new blank document. I'm going to use the index card to write a synopsis of what I intend to be in this scene, which I'll write later on. When I'm ready to return to the writing, I can open my new document and see from the index card in the inspector what I plan to write. Or maybe you're not partial to corkboards. That's fine, you don't have to use it. If I click on a folder again, I can switch to outliner mode instead. The outliner works in exactly the same way as the corkboard. It shows me just the titles and synopses of the subdocuments of a selected folder. And I can edit them.
Now I have to say I didn't use this big function very much at all. But I did use
Rearrange them.
some of the other functions. But some people like to think in terms of small chunks like that and bringing all the chunks together. Yeah?
And create new documents and write synopses to remind me what they should be about when I come to write them.
Okay, I might stop it there because I think in the examples that I've got for you, to show you some of the things that I used in my own work that of those features that I thought was particularly useful. So here's what some of my Scrivener document looked like. So here it's my methodology and my methods chapter. This is the content here, and the document references in this inspector column here. There's a range of things that you can display across in this inspector column, which are these icons here, but the little icon that has the book symbol, and it's got a little asterisk there to show that on this page I actually have got some documents that relate to this. Every one of the references is here. So all of those, this is really powerful because you've got all your references. Remember, you've kept your references. Mine are all on the OneDrive in my folder, but that same document, which is mostly PDFs, they're not all, are linked into Evernote. Yeah? So some of these links actually are from Evernote too. They link to the Evernote reference because not all of them were PDFs that I saved. They were some things that I got off the internet and so on, or notes that I made for myself from books. But they're all here. Every single thing here has a link to, for example, here, the Denson is a book. It's not a PDF. And so on, and some of them are PDFs. And I've got all of the versions that are referenced in here. So at any time, I can just click on that and open the actual document as I'm writing, and I go, well, you know, was that really something that, do I want to go and look at, well, I've quoted on page 10, but what did this person say further on in the journal article or so on? But this is absolutely magic, being able to do that. The other thing is in here, I have actually created one of those synopsis corkboard examples, and it was good because it reminded me, in this case I had 6 particular steps that I wanted to be sure that I covered, that I didn't miss as I was writing. And so this was my little reminder that I had to make sure that I didn't leave any of these out. In this one, it's the next slide, I used something which really bothered me once I really got into writing this thesis, that how do I have version control? Because something I wrote 2 months ago might have something I deleted, but I might want to come back to at some point. So you have this little thing that lets you take a snapshot, this little symbol up here. And every time you're here, if you want to take a snapshot, it automatically saves it for you. So you can go back and I could go back to February 2018 and say, well, that was what the draft looked like at that stage. And this was draft 2, and this is the draft before the final. So you call it whatever you like. I mean, you could be a little bit more systematic and say, draft 0.1 and so on. And then when you've got a proper draft 1.0, and if you want to be, really, organised about it, I didn't. I just kept it there because it just tells me, just in case I need to go back to that at some stage, at what stage was that draft? Yeah? So really those were other than, being able to do some of these things you can do in Word. Obviously, if you use the navigation tool in Word, lets you, see that sort of drag it up and down and put it in whatever order. But as I just showed, that feature with, I think, using the synopsis tool when you're really working through something that you just absolutely want to keep concise. And my methodology chapter was 10,000 words and my methods was 10,000 words. So 20,000 words of my 80,000 word thesis is in the methodology and methods. So I needed to keep it really tight to keep it in there. So that I didn't use a synopsis tool in every single part, right? And certainly having all of the documents at your fingertips was great. And then the version control, having all of that in one place. And all of this just, when you were talking about compiling, if I only wanted to compile certain bits, out of the whole long document, I only wanted to compile the methodology, I can just go into, when it goes compile, it asks me what do I want to compile. And I can just click in a little box that says only these sections, and then it produces a Word document. And it will produce it in the style of the APA style. So you can see I've got Arial, 11, normal. I don't have to make any changes to putting it into the style. I can set up the style just as I can in a Word document so that when it does produce in the Word document, it's already in the APA style. Everything comes across. Yeah? So that's Scrivener. And again, that's something that you have to buy yourself. This university doesn't support it yet, but they are quite happy for me to have it on my computer, and it's actually hosted outside. But one of the things that is very good with this, it automatically backs everything up into the OneDrive. So when I switch off, when I go up here and go click, it automatically backs up straight into my OneDrive. So there's always a copy of whatever I've got in Scrivener saved at that date, that time on the OneDrive. So that's also something that when the document starts to get huge, when your elephant really starts to get massive, yeah, you can do that. So basically they're the tools, and how you can find out more about them. And I recommend you have a look. And any questions? Yeah.
Thanks for showing that. Right. Hello. Yes. Thanks for showing us that. I have a question. Did you try compiling your thesis in Word before you tried Scrivener? And if so, what were the differences? What advantages did Scrivener specifically have? Or did you start with Scrivener and you didn't really use Word?
I did. I used Word for my proposal. I used Word for writing the proposal. Yeah. And that proposal was actually like 12,000 words. And I had to cut it down to about 7. And I had all this other content that I thought, well, I'm going to write this 80,000 word thesis. What am I going to do with, the other 5,000 words that I've cut out? And how am I going to manage that? And I started off Word, but in the proposal, and then that's when I realised that I'm going to need something that's going to get me through to the end without having multiple documents in multiple folders and, you know, trying to, I just needed to be able to keep everything together.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mind you, having said that, now that I'm at the end, I have actually created a Word document which is all of my chapters all together, because my supervisor, who was just here a minute before, Lindsay, she said there's a certain point where, having written each chapter, it's good to put the whole thing together. Well, it was together in Scrivener, but I just thought, well, no, and so I do have a Word version that I save, which is my everything minus the discussion and conclusion at the moment, because I haven't written that yet. I'm still writing that. But I've also, as I write, there are some things that I park in the discussion and conclusion chapters. So now that I'm actually up to writing the discussion and conclusion, there's a lot of things that I've parked in there, as you do, including references and all sorts of things that now it's, when I come to write the discussion, it's not just a blank page in my Word document. It's actually populated by all sorts of things that I've collected along the way in Scrivener. Yeah. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.